17. Mga konti ninyo, ah. So, good afternoon, everyone. We will continue for this meeting, our discussion on the pituitary glands. Hormone secretion yung ating last time. The last part that we discussed was the summary of the pituitary gland secretions. No? So we have actually discussed already the different pituitary gland hormone secretions. We identified the tropin hormones, from the anterior pituitary, which are your TSH, ACTH, FSH, LH, and your growth hormone. So they are called tropin. It's because they will stimulate another target organ to produce another hormone. While for the prolactin and MSH, so they are not included in the tropin hormones because they will have a direct effect on specifically for the prolactin in the mammary gland and the MSH in the skin, the melanocytes. Now, in the posterior pituitary, these hormones are only stored here, no? So the ADH and oxytocin. Okay, so we continue on. We can group these major hormones from the pituitary gland into 3 groups based on their chemical structure. So we have the glycoproteins, the somatomamotropins, and your pro-opiomelanocortins. So these are just groupings based on their structures. No? So one important thing that I want to stress out here would be the pro-opiomelanocortins. So under this would be our beta-lipotropin. Of course, you have just what was the ACTH, no? And lipotropin was not mentioned, no? But lip is a hormone also that is produced by your pituitary gland, no? Corticotropes, no? And it is both from pro-opiomelanocortin genes. Hindi ba? The CRH, the gland and the corticotropes will produce now your ACTH. But not only ACTH is being produced, no? So from the genes of your corticotropes, no? From the pro-opiomelanocortin, no? There are actually 3. No? Although ang pinaka-common is this 2, the corticotropin, or what's the other name for corticotropin? Your ACTH, or the adrenocorticotropic hormone. And then your beta-lipotropin. No? So the beta-lipotropin naman, a target would be, of course, yung ating mga adipose tissues. No? And then your corticotropin, particularly those cells in the pars intermedia, di ba sabi natin meron ding mga corticotropes doon. But in the pars intermedia, the corticotropin is intermedia. Alpha melanocyte stimulating hormone. Itong isa pa to, corticotropin-like intermediate low peptide or CLIP. Okay? While yung beta-lipotropin naman natin, no, can be further cleaved into beta-endorphins and lipotropins. So I'm just showing you that aside from ACTH, there are other hormones that are being produced, no, by your corticotropes. Although primarily it would be corticotropin. No? So particularly I want you to remember that in dogs and horses, their pars intermedia is a significant source of corticotropin. No? So yung ating pars intermedia sa dogs and horses, the corticotropes there will produce also corticotropin, but no, it can still be cleaved into MSH and CLIP. So we all know that the MSH will target your skin melanocytes and produce a lot of melanin. Sa mga aso that have a condition called hyperadrenocorticism, no? So aside from the high cortisol, no, sa dogs, it can also cause increase in the levels of MSH. That is why yung mga aso na yun, pwedeng nagkakaroon sila ng hyperpigmentation because of the increase in alpha MSH, which is produced in the pars intermedia. Okay? So, that's one implication for dogs and horses. No, pag dumami ang corticotropin nila, no, madaming ACTH, so madaming cortisol ang maproproduce, pero madami ring alpha MSH. Aside from that, you also have the lipotropins and your endorphins. As I mentioned, ang target ng lipotropin would be fats. So, it will stimulate the fats para siya yung maging source of energy. While endorphins naman will be, endorphins will have a analgesic effect. No? Opioid kasi siya. So it has a opioid activity, and it can also modulate your FSH and LH secretion. Umulan na. Okay? Yun lang yung gusto kong ipakita doon sa bakit merong classifications based on structure and the other hormones coming from your corticotropes. No? So basically, corticotropin or your ACTH, beta lipotropin, meron pa tayong alpha MSH, endorphins, and you have your CLIP. Okay? Questions? So, parati kasi ang hina-highlight lang natin would be, of course, yung ating what is being highlighted would be yung ating ACTH lang. But no. So, hindi lang ACTH ang nagpo-produce sa pituitary gland. Okay? From your corticotropes, I should say. Okay? So, this is just a summary now of the target organs of your different pituitary hormones. So you could see here that the prolactin, the target will be the breast or the mammary gland because it will cause the development of the mammary gland and production of milk. For the FSH and LH, no, its target would be the gonads, so the ovary and the testes. So the FSH particularly, no, for germ cell development, so that would mean for spermatogenesis and yung oogenesis, folliculogenesis, or yung development, no, ng mga spermatozoa ng ating ovum. And also, the LH in particular is involved in the production of hormones by your ovaries, no, for estrogen and progesterone, and for the male, testosterone, of course. For the ACTH, the target would be your adrenal cortex, no, to produce cortisol. And for your thyroid-stimulating hormone, of course, the thyroid gland is the target and it stimulates it to produce thyroid hormones T3 and T4. For the growth hormone, so it has targets all over the body, so many organs and tissues, no? Because it's responsible for growth, and it also has an effect on metabolism. And as atropine hormone naman, its target is the liver. And this will stimulate the liver to produce somatoglycans. Okay? So, do you have any questions? So, may module naman kayo guys. So, kailangan ninyong basahin yung mga modules nyo and start to memorize, no? So, stressing out further, no, yung sa mga function. Take note that the thyroid stimulating hormone does not only stimulate the secretion of T3 and T4 in your thyroid gland, but it is also involved in the maintenance of the normal structure of your thyroid gland. So meaning your thyroid gland integrity also depends on the presence of your TSH. Without it, pwedeng mag-atrophy yung iyong thyroid gland. The same is true with ACTH. Its target, as you know, is the adrenal cortex, and it is involved in the secretion of your glucocorticoids, but it's also involved in the maintenance of the adrenal gland itself. Again, no, it also depends on ACTH, no, for its integrity. So kung walang ACTH, your adrenal cortex may atrophy din. Okay? What else? Prolactin, aside from its target, the mammary gland for lactogenesis, it can also be, no? At ang target niya pang isa would be the corpus luteum. Okay? So it is actually needed in the maintenance of corpus luteum of specific lang, you and rodents. So particularly ang prolactin natin is for lactogenesis or production of milk, but in you and rodents, it can also be for the maintenance of corpus luteum. Okay. So, for the gonadotropin hormones, as I have mentioned, specific yung FSH natin. Kaya siya follicle stimulating hormone. The follicle is for, di ba, meron tayong mga ovarian follicles. Okay. So, for oogenesis and folliculogenesis, for the females na spermatogenesis. So, for the development of the germ cells. Ang LH naman is the one that is responsible for the steroidogenesis function. Remember when you say steroidogenesis, we're talking about production of steroid hormones, particularly, of course, estrogen and progesterone, which comes from the ovary. So here you could see the specific cells that secrete estrogen, no? The granulosa cells. While your progesterone is from the theca cells of your ovary. Testosterone is produced by your Leydig cell. For the melanotropin stimulating hormone, so natin to, no? The secretory cell is still, and their target would be your melanocytes to produce melanin. This is particularly important para sa ating mga reptiles, okay? Because they have a well-developed, yung kanilang pars intermedia, where we have the corticotropes that produces your alpha MSH or your melanotropin stimulating hormone. Okay? You have any questions on the anterior pituitary gland hormone secretions? So this is just another, I will not discuss it anymore kasi sinabi ko na itong mga tanong. Siguro nakalimutan ko lang dito yung growth hormone. But we will be discussing this particularly growth hormone, no? Its effect on not only on the growth but also for metabolism, no? Protein, carbohydrate, fat metabolism. No? So yung ating growth hormone is important. Questions? So for now, you have to memorize all of this, no? So, we only have naman how many? How many, again, how many organs under the control of the hypothalamus and prolactin? Give one. What organs are under the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland for them to secrete a hormone? Mr. De La Cruz, give one. Hello? Saan mo siya? Miss Mariel. Itigil na natin ito pag hindi kayo sumagot. One. Two.
Doc, isang example po ay thyroid gland.
Okay, of course, the thyroid gland, no? So, if you take a look at this, no? So, you need, for the thyroid gland to produce T3 and T4, you need the thyroid releasing hormone coming from the hypothalamus. And then this will now stimulate your thyrotropes in the pituitary gland to produce your thyroid stimulating hormone. And then this TSH now will stimulate your thyroid gland, particularly your follicular cells, to produce T3 and T4. What else?
Doc, adrenal cortex po.
Okay. So, adrenal cortex. So, the adrenal cortex will produce cortisol, no? But it would need the hormones coming from the hypothalamus, particularly your CRH, which stimulates your corticotropes to produce ACTH. But then again, I've told you a while ago na meron pang iba. Okay? And then the ACTH or corticotropin will now stimulate your adrenal cortex to produce your cortisol. Cortisol is actually a stress hormone. Okay? So it will help the body to cope up with stress. While yung T3 and T4 nyo kanina na sinabi ko ay this is for metabolism. No? These hormones are involved in the regulation of metabolism. So, what else?
Doc, liver po. Ayok lang.
Ha?
Doc, liver po.
Yeah, so the liver, the liver is also considered under it if we are talking about its endocrine function, no? So it would need, of course, yung ating growth hormone releasing hormone, and then you have your growth hormone, and then your growth hormone will stimulate the liver to produce somatostatin. Remember, meron tayong mga inhibiting hormones, ha? Parating releasing lang yung aking nasasabi, but the releasing hormone stimulates. So, opposite ang inhibiting. No? So, the inhibiting will turn off. No? Hindi niya mai-stimulate yung secretion naman, no? Hormone. Okay? So aside from that, you also have your gonadotrope, your gonads, of course. So it needs your gonadotropin releasing hormone from the hypothalamus to stimulate the gonadotropes to produce your FSH and LH hormones. No? And then this now too will stimulate the ovaries, no, for steroidogenesis and for the development of your egg cells and spermatozoa. Okay? So, I think that's basically, no, yung ating mga 1, 2, 3, and 4 organs, no? 5, sama natin yung liver, under the control of the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland for their secretion. And because of this, no, these 4 glands, organs, I should say, can actually, no, produce hormones that will feed back either in the hypothalamus or in the pituitary gland. Negative feedback mechanism. Okay? So meaning these hormones now produced by these 4 organs, no, their level, if it is in excess already, could feed back either to the hypothalamus or into the pituitary gland. So, secretion of your cortisol, no, by the adrenal gland is high already. So, high cortisol level and to the hypothalamus to ano ang mangyayari? Cortisol tayo. So, it will inhibit your CRH. So, magpo-produce ng CRH. Or at the level of the pituitary gland. No? Kahit may CRH, but it will inhibit now the production of your ACTH. Okay? So, maliwanag ba yon? That is the consequence, no, na meron tayong these organs are under hypothalamus and pituitary in their secretion of the different hormones. So hormone level can feed back to either the pituitary or the hypothalamus. Okay? Wag niyong sasabihin sa akin later on na yung prolactin is under hypothalamus and pituitary. Tingnan po, under lang siya ng hypothalamus but no, in the pituitary because pituitary gland produces now the prolactin. Okay. So, ang level ng feedback naman ng prolactin would be only under the hypothalamus. Okay? So, that's it for the regulation. Pare-pareho lang naman ang regulation. Negative feedback tayo. Lahat. Okay? Ulit-ulitin lang natin. Ako yung is naman na yan. Okay? Sige. So, we continue on to the 2 hormones that are stored in the posterior. You know already that there are 2 parts of the posterior pituitary, the pars nervosa and the infundibulum or yung pituto. No? And they only serve as a storage site for the oxytocin and vasopressin. So, ano ang nandun sa posterior pituitary? Okay? Nandun yung mga axon terminals ng mga neurons, no? Or the nuclei in the hypothalamus, particularly yung axon ng paraventricular nucleus at saka ng supraoptic nucleus. Because these 2 are the ones that secretes your oxytocin and your ADH. Okay? So yung nandoon sa posterior pituitary are axon terminals na lang, okay, of these 2 nuclei. Okay, so take note of this is your paraventricular, will be your supraoptic nucleus. So, ito na yung mga terminals nila, axon terminals. Diba yung ating neuronal connection? So, it connects all. So, nandito na yung mga axon terminals. So, the paraventricular nucleus primarily secretes oxytocin. Hindi namang tandaan yun. PO, parang purchase order. Diba? So, yun lang ang tinatandaan ko para matandaan ko kung anong nucleus ang nag-secrete ng oxytocin. PO, paraventricular oxytocin. So, the target of oxytocin will be the uterus and the mammary myoepithelial cells. In the uterus, it will cause myometrial contraction, while in the mammary gland, it will cause milk letdown. Remember, magkaibang action ng oxytocin. Prolactin, ano ang kanyang function? Ang prolactin, ano yung target? Guys? Mammary gland. So, but what is its action, ang prolactin sa mammary gland?
To produce milk.
Production of milk. Okay, ibig sabihin, lactogenesis, production of milk. But this one is milk letdown or ejection, yung paglabas. So, prolactin is the production of milk by your alveolus. No? But this one, it will cause the letdown or ejection of milk for the oxytocin. Okay? Take note, it is different. Okay? Iba ang lactogenesis or milk production and milk ejection. Okay? Now, for the ADH, its other term is vasopressin. No? So, ito naman, it's primarily secreted by your supraoptic nucleus. Dalawa lang naman sila, kaya ito lang ang tinitinda ko, PO. Okay? So, supraoptic naman, synthesizes and secretes your ADH or vasopressin. So, 2 ang target niya. We all know the kidneys, particularly the collecting duct and the distal convoluted tubules. And its action would be to increase reabsorption of water. But it also has receptors in your arterial blood vessels. Kaya nga siya vasopressin. Pressor. Ang ibig sabihin ng pressor is it will cause constriction. Okay? So, it causes vasoconstriction of your blood vessels. Pag nag-constrict kasi ang blood vessels, it will increase blood pressure. Okay? So, vasopressors will increase blood pressure because they will constrict yung ating blood vessels. Okay? So, madali lang. Dalawa lang naman yung nasa posterior pituitary and very simple yung kanilang functions. Again, these 2 are not tropin hormones. Okay? So, just to show you how oxytocin is released, no? It's usually from suckling reflex. So, if during suckling, no, that would stimulate, no, yung ating hypothalamus. So, nervous stimulation, no, stimulate the paraventricular nucleus. So, the stimulation will be passed through into the posterior pituitary to release now your oxytocin. Oxytocin now goes to the blood and it can go into your mammary gland, no? Myoepithelial cells para mag-contract yung mga muscles sa alveolus and it will cause milk letdown. While some would go into the uterus, bind to its receptor and produce uterine contraction. Okay? So, di ba kaya sinasabi nila that if mahina mag-suckle or mahina yung milk, hindi masyadong lumalabas yung milk. So, the advice that you usually give is to let the puppy suckle. No? Kasi that would stimulate the production of oxytocin. Okay? It would stimulate the production of oxytocin para mag-produce ng milk. The more puppy suckle, the more milk will be released. The same is true, nakikita niyo ba ito? That the stretching of the uterus will also stimulate again the paraventricular nucleus to produce oxytocin. No? So it's a positive feedback ito, no? So you can the more na ma-stimulate, mag-contract yung uterus, the more oxytocin, the more milk let down, the more uterine contraction. Okay? What's another application in that? Diba? If a sow is undergoing na siya ng parturition, and then just in case na you need to give oxytocin kasi matagal na yung interval ng last na biik. No? So if you do not have that, you can actually manipulate the uterus. Pasok mo, manipulate the uterus. Kasi when the uterus is stretched or manipulated, it will send signals to the paraventricular nucleus to produce oxytocin. Or, ilagay mo yung mga biik pa-dedehin para naturally, no, the suckling will again stimulate the production of oxytocin. Okay? So, natutulog na kayo. So, I just want to show you, I think nakita nyo na ito sa systemic fission, no? So, you know very well that ADH is being produced by the body if there is volume depletion or tumaas ang blood osmolarity. Diba? Kasi pag na-dehydrate ka, mawawalan ka ng water. So that would be volume depletion. Pag nawalan ka ng water, yung osmolarity ng blood mo ay tataas. Diba? Ano nga ulit ang normal plasma osmolarity? In milliosmoles?
300.
300 po.
Okay, very good. 300 milliosmoles. So remember, no, pag mababa ang blood volume mo or tumaas ang blood osmolarity mo, di ba? It will stimulate now yung ating mga osmoreceptors in the brain. Remember yung exercise natin sa diuresis, no? So it will stimulate now your osmoreceptors so that yung ating, anong nucleus ulit ang magpaproduce ng ADH? Supra-optic nucleus will now produce ADH. Aside from that, it will also cause the release of your ADH now from your posterior pituitary. So it goes now to your kidneys, to stimulate reabsorption of water, to normalize the volume, and to decrease the osmolarity to normal. Okay? So, I think maliwanag yan from your systemic fascia. So, hindi nyo dapat kalimutan. So, if you take note, the stimulators of ADH secretion will be if the blood osmolarity increased above 300 milliosmoles. If your plasma osmotic pressure increases, syempre, di ba, ang osmotic pressure, it depends on your solutes. So, kung mas magiging concentrated, mas tataas ang osmolarity, mas tataas ang pressure. Decrease ECF volume or volume depletion. Take note, pain also. So if you are considerably in a lot of pain, it may stimulate your ADH secretion. you are vomiting, of course, because you lose water, so it will also stimulate ADH secretion. Some drugs like nicotine, morphine, and barbiturates. No? So yung ating nicotine in our tobacco will stimulate ADH secretion. Diba? Naalala niyo ba ito? Nang opposite naman niya yung ating alcohol. It will inhibit ADH secretion. And of course, angiotensin will stimulate ADH secretion because they are part of the RAAS. No? So, hindi lang aldosterone ang kasama doon, but also ADH. No? So, the inhibitors would be, syempre, the opposite. No? So, if there is decrease in blood osmolarity, no? So, kulang ng solutes, so it will inhibit now your ADH. Kasi if decrease na yung blood osmolarity, meaning diluted na yung blood mo, diba? So kung if you still have water, then it would be more diluted. So ingestion of alcohol. Remember, if you drink a lot of beer, no, ihi ka ng ihe kasi nai-inhibit ang iyong ADH. Which is opposite when you smoke naman, no? Konti lang yung ihi mo because ADH is stimulated. Some drugs like butorphanol and haloperidol. Butorphanol is an anti-tussive drug. So, syempre wala pa kayo doon. So, meron ng mga drugs that would inhibit ADH secretion. Okay? Now, ano itong nakalagay dito? So the metabolism of ADH, it's rapidly inactivated by the kidneys and liver, and the half-life is around 18 minutes. For ADH, so parang kasunod siya ng ating mga catecholamines. Of course, ADH is a hypothalamic hormone, so it's protein hormone. So talagang mababa lang yung kanyang half-life, almost 18 minutes. Okay? So, do you have any questions so far?
Doc,
Yes.
about po dun sa oxytocin and sa product. Paano po kapag, di ba sabi ko na oxytocin, milk ejection or blood lang po. Paano po kapag there's too much oxytocin po, pero mababa yung milk production or the animal lacks prolactin. Paano po nangyayari dun sa excess oxytocin po?
Excess na oxytocin, kuya? So, kung walang lalabas sa milk, so of course, the other target is the uterus. So, it would still cause contraction of the myometrial of the myoepithelial cells in the mammary gland. Kaya lang nga, walang lalabas na milk. It would still do its job in contracting the myoepithelial cells. But if wala namang laman yung alveolus, wala talagang lalabas. So, wala kang excess. Nandun siya, mag-aano pa rin siya, magbabind pa rin siya. It will still do its job in contracting the myoepithelial cells in the mammary gland. No? Kaya lang, dahil walang laman yung mga alveolus, wala kang makikita. But still, it's doing its job in contracting the myoepithelial cells.
Okay po.
And then, yun nga, after which, syempre, metabolize na siya. So, around that's 18 minutes na yung kanyang hapon. Prolactin kasi talaga kailangan yan in the production of milk by the alveolus. Iba naman siya. Iba yung action aside from oxytocin. Oxytocin is purely milk clot and uterine contraction. Okay? Kaya kahit na magbigay ka ng oxytocin, tapos walang lumalabas, ibig sabihin, hindi yun ang problema niya. Ang problema niya ay walang milk na na-produce yung mammary gland. Okay? But, actually, yung suckling will not only stimulate yung production ng oxytocin din. It can also stimulate yung prolactin. Kaya lang, the prolactin kasi, it's not only during the suckling or lactation period na dapat nagsisimula na yan yung milk production in the latter half of pregnancy. Okay? So, pag nandun na tayo sa repro, mas maano natin yung production ng milk. Okay?
Okay, Doc.
Okay. So, we still have time. Dadiretso ko sa growth hormone, ha? So, remember, but I'd like you to memorize, no? Lahat ng mga hormones that are involved in the production of hormones by your thyroid, adrenal, the gonads, the liver, the different hormones that are produced by the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. Dapat maging familiar kayo. Their target cells or their target organs, as well as their the function of the day. Kailangan nyo siyang i-memorize. Okay? And one of the hormones that are produced by, one of the hormones that is produced by your pituitary gland is the growth hormone. Remember, the somatotropes ang pinakamadami, no, na cells in the pituitary gland. And usually they produce your growth hormone. So, one of the most important hormone produced by the pituitary gland is your growth hormone. And, of course, the growth hormone, aside from its importance in the growth, no, of all the cells in the body that is capable of growing, it is also important in metabolism. O yan, so babalik na naman tayo sa systemic ratio. Carbohydrate, fat, at saka protein metabolism. So the growth hormone has effects on all of this. No? And we will take a look at it one by one later. Sana maabutin pa natin. So the growth hormone, since it is a secretion of the pituitary gland, so it's a protein hormone. Okay? So its target would be all the body tissues that are capable of growing, particularly yung bone, muscles, yan, yung ating mga soft and osseous tissues, no, that are capable of growing. So if I have included here a graph showing you a comparison of the weight gain of a rat that is injected daily with growth hormone with that of the normal liver meat. So ito yung control, yung hindi nilagyan ng growth hormone, at ito naman yung para sa binigyan ng growth hormone, no? So you could see the difference, no, in body weight. Mas mataas yung body weight nung nabigyan na rat ng growth hormone. So you could see there its effect, no, in causing growth via yung body weight gain. Okay? So its biologic effect, of course, as we know, is growth of all the cells that are capable of growing. Muscles, bones, even your hair, your nails, no, are under yung ating growth hormone. Cellular differentiation. So the differentiation, for example, of your osteoblast to your osteoclast or to your osteocytes, no, it would need, no, the growth hormone. And other cells that needs differentiation, no? Gaya ng from spermatocytes to spermatozoa. That would be cellular differentiation. And again, it is under the growth hormones action. No? And 3, metabolism. As I've mentioned, it has a very big effect on carbohydrate, fat, and protein metabolism. And of course, we made mention of this. The liver, one of its target to produce somatomedin. No? That's why it is being considered as a tropin hormone. So just to review how growth hormone is being released, although tapos na natin. No? So again, you need your growth hormone releasing hormone to stimulate now your anterior pituitary somatotropes to produce now your growth hormone. Okay? And the growth hormone now will be transported in the blood towards the body cells to promote growth, and to the liver to promote production of somatomedins or your IGF-1 and your IGF-2. So we go first here, in the production of somatomedins. So the somatomedins are actually insulin growth factors 1 and 2. So they are also protein hormones. So para silang insulin, kaya nga insulin growth factor. No? So they can mediate the action of your growth hormone. No? So meaning they are synergistic with the growth hormone in the growth and differentiation of your cells. And aside from that, the somatomedins can also cause, the somatomedins can actually regulate growth hormone secretion. So pwedeng mag-feedback. Pag madami ng IGF from the liver, it can feedback to the hypothalamus or to the pituitary gland. Para sa hypothalamus, it will stimulate the release of GHRH. And dito naman, since inhibitory na siya, wala na rin mag-produce na growth hormone. Okay? So remember this, somatomedins can feedback to your anterior, to your hypothalamus, or your anterior pituitary to stop growth hormone production. Aside from growth hormone itself can also feedback to the hypothalamus. Okay. So this is the growth hormone. So again, yung direct effects niya, as we mentioned, is meron siyang effects sa metabolism, while the indirect effect is through the action of your insulin growth factors. So the insulin growth factors will have an effect in the growth, of course, ng ating mga tissues and also ang ating bones. Okay? So synergistic siya doon sa effect ng ating growth hormone. Okay? Now, for the metabolic effects, unahin natin yung effect niya sa protein metabolism. Okay? So, the growth hormone, syempre, di ba, it favors growth. So, from there alone, you could already assume that its effect on protein metabolism would be anabolic. Tama ba? Ano ulit ang anabolism? Ha? Anabolism.
Building up po.
Okay. So, you see there that the growth hormone, its effect on protein metabolism is more on anabolic. So, i-increase niya yung synthesis ng muscle proteins and it will decrease the breakdown of cell proteins. So, meron siyang protein sparing effect because, di ba, it's action is actually for growth. So from there, malalaman nyo na agad. So how? How does it enhance? So there's several ways, and this is systemic, no? Under metabolism. So medyo mahihirapan kayo kung hindi nyo naman siya maalala. Enhance transport of amino acid to the cell membrane, increase nuclear transcription of DNA to form RNA. Of course, yung protein synthesis na ito, no? Decrease catabolism of proteins and amino acids. So yun yung mga ways wherein your growth hormone will favor anabolism. Okay? Now, if its effect on protein is anabolism, for fats naman is catabolic siya. So, kasi the fat will serve as a source of energy. No? So, ayaw niyang gamitin yung protein, gagamit siya ng fat. So, ang effect ng growth hormone would be lipolysis. Okay? So, it increases fatty acid mobilization from adipose tissue. So, ika-catabolize niya, lipolysis. So that these fatty acids will be the ones that will be used for production of ATP. No? So, increased use of fatty acids. Ano nga yung pathway for the production of ATP if you are using fatty acids? Kakamsat. Kalimutan nyo na. Beta oxidation. Hindi ba? The fatty acids will enter the beta oxidation pathway, which produces your ATP. Some of the acetylcholine will also go under anong pathway naman? Ano yung parating kasama ng beta oxidation? Miss Quaresma? What is the other pathway that is closely linked to your beta oxidation?
Three over. 3 over 53.
Ha?
Pero tama yung ito.
Ano yun? Hindi ko naintindihan. Parang sabay-sabay kayo nagsasalita. Anong pathway yun? Ay, yan. Ayun, anong pathway? Ha? Ketogenesis. Hindi ba? Some of the acetyl-CoA from the beta oxidation goes to the keto body formation. Kaya, the growth hormone, it favors the use of fats and ketone bodies as a source of energy. Okay? Kaya alam nyo ba, may mga studies na ginagawa sila sa pigs na lalagay sila ng growth hormone para mas maging lean yung muscle, mabilis lumaki, tapos walang fats because yun yung effect niya, no? It causes lipolysis. So lean yung muscles. Okay, so ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyong ketogenic effect din ng ating growth hormone. Remember, you review your systemic tissue. Kasi if you have excessive growth hormone, excessive yung lipolysis mo, so pag madami kang acetyl-CoA, some of it goes to the ketogenesis pathway and it will produce ketone bodies. Ketone bodies are acids. So, pwedeng mag-cause naman siya ng ketoacidosis or high levels of ketone bodies in the blood, which is not good. Okay? Okay ba? For effect of growth hormone in your fat metabolism. So, last is its effect on carbohydrate metabolism. So, for the growth hormone, ayaw niyang ipagamit ang glucose as source of energy. Okay? So, ang ating growth hormone, no, ayaw niyang ipagamit but hindi rin niya rin ipapastore. No? So, growth hormone kasi causes hyperglycemia. It increases the amount of glucose in the blood. Why? Because it decreases the uptake in tissues. So, ayaw niyang pa-store. It also decreases the usage of glucose by cells, kaya tumataas ang glucose level. No? Kaya yan yung magiging problema mo. If you give growth hormone, no, pwedeng magkaroon ng hyperglycemia yung ating animals because persistently, growth hormone would want the body to have, no, increased blood glucose level. Okay? So this may cause pituitary diabetes, which is insulin sensitive. Bakit siya tinawag na pituitary diabetes? It's because the high glucose level is due to growth hormone. Hindi dahil walang insulin, but it's because of the high growth hormone. Remember, kasi ayaw niyang ipagamit at ayaw niyang pa-store, kaya mataas yung glucose level. Okay? So, you should differentiate it with diabetes mellitus, which is caused by walang insulin, and pituitary diabetes naman is because of growth hormone. Pag mataas ang level ng growth hormone, it may cause diabetes. Pituitary diabetes. Okay? So another, aside from it, it will also increase secretion of insulin. So later on, diba consistent na mataas ang ating blood sugar level. And because of that, the pancreas will cope up by secreting insulin. Diba? So, if maging persistent ang growth hormone natin na mataas, at mapagod ang mga beta cells natin, anong mangyayari? It will lead now to diabetes mellitus. Kasi, in the end, yung ating mga beta cells will now be exhausted in producing insulin. So, pituitary diabetes leading to diabetes mellitus. Okay? Another is, it also increases the production of glucose by the liver. So it causes also gluconeogenesis. So that is one reason why there's hyperglycemia. The liver produces a lot of glucose, and then it stops cells from using it as energy, from using glucose as energy, and it stops cells from taking up glucose. Kaya the growth hormone, no, in summary, its effect in metabolism would be, it enhances body protein, it uses your fat stores, a source of energy, and it conserves carbohydrates. So, to increase blood glucose level. Okay? May klase ba kayo ng 2? Hello? Ha?
Tayo din ko, Doc.
Ay, oo nga pala, tayo pala yung yung, tayo pala yung magkasunod kasi, oo nga, wala pala kayong lab. So, pwede nating ituloy-tuloy o ayaw niya? Pwede nating tapusin? Parang ayaw mo ah. Tapusin lang natin yung growth hormone kasi meron pang disorders. Okay. Okay. Those are the metabolic effects of your growth hormone, no? But, no, yung kanyang effects may also vary with the metabolic state of the animal, no? So, during fasting, okay, during fasting or during your post-absorptive phase, kumari, hindi ka kumakain. No? The action of growth hormone is to oppose insulin, no? To promote catabolism or glucose sparing. So, if you are fasting, growth hormone helps the body para hindi bumaba yung glucose level. It would help in increasing blood glucose level. But during the anabolic or absorptive phase, kakakain mo naman, growth hormone may facilitate insulin action, no? In order to promote growth. So depending on the metabolic state of the animal, no, yung growth hormone can actually facilitate insulin action. Yung sinabi ko kanina na growth hormone would want to increase yung ating glucose level. That is particularly true during fasting. Okay? O hindi ka kumakain or pagkatapos mong prolonged period na hindi ka kakain. So that your blood glucose level will not go down. But during absorptive phase or yung level ng glucose sa katawan mo ay sobra namang mataas, it will facilitate the action of insulin. So, susuportahan niya naman ang insulin so that glucose will be taken up by cells. No? Amino acids will also be taken up by cells for protein anabolism. Okay? So, iba yung kanyang action, no? Depending on the metabolic state. Yun lang naman. During the anabolic phase, it becomes facilitative of insulin. Do you have any questions? Questions? Okay, I will just show you this nandito sa baba. So, during the fasting state of an animal, yung ating growth hormone secretion ay mataas. It actually is high. Remember, this is in order for glucose level to increase. So, mataas ang ating growth hormone during fasting. And the insulin level is decreased. Siyempre kasi pag fasting, di ba, mababa na yung blood glucose level. While if you eat naman a carbohydrate meal, no, so your growth hormone will decrease while your insulin will increase kasi you need the insulin so that cells would take up glucose. Okay? While if you are talking about protein intake naman, no, if you intake protein, growth hormone and insulin will increase because both of these will facilitate, no, yung growth hormone particularly will spare protein while insulin would facilitate the entry of amino acids to cells as well as glucose to increase protein synthesis in growth. Okay? Questions kayo sa ating growth hormone? So, just to review again, the feedback control of growth hormone could be at the level of the growth hormone itself. Pag mataas na yung level ng growth hormone that is being produced, it can feed back to the pituitary gland to stimulate GHIH or ano yung ibang term niya, somatostatin. So that somatostatin will now inhibit your somatotropes in producing growth hormone. Or it could be at the level of somatomedins. So pag mataas na yung somatomedins level in the blood, it could feed back to the hypothalamus, no, to stop, no, or to produce GHIH or your somatostatin. The same way. Pero pag mababa naman ang level ng ating growth hormone, so of course it will feed back and it will stimulate your GHRH so that it will stimulate your somatotropes to produce growth hormone. Ganun din, if the level of somatomedins is low, it could feed back the hypothalamus to produce GHRH or releasing hormone. Okay, depending on the level of growth hormone and somatomedins. Okay? May questions kayo sa feedback control of growth hormone? Dalawa lang naman, the growth hormone itself and the somatomedins and either positive or negative feedback. Okay, so this will be now your stimulators and inhibitors of growth hormone secretion. So, unahin natin, no? So, any neurogenic condition, trauma, surgery, or may psychosis, or na-excite, no? This will stimulate growth hormone secretion. Okay? Again, no? Pag may trauma, may surgery, no? It would stimulate growth hormone secretion. So, I think siguro because growth hormone is needed in cell growth, no? So, kung meron kang surgery, no? You need, of course, para mag-heal, di ba? Kailangan ng growth. Metabolic, protein deficiency. Why do you think protein deficiency will stimulate growth hormone secretion? Particularly because of its effect on protein metabolism. So, and also sa growth. Siyempre, kailangan mo ng protein for growth, di ba? Kung kukunti ang protein mo, it would stimulate your growth hormone. The same is true with hypoglycemia. Bakit magiging stimulus siya for growth hormone secretion? Again, it's because your growth hormone, no, would cause, no, the increase of blood glucose level. That would be the response of your body. Pag ikaw ay nasa fasting state, it would release growth hormone in order to increase your glucose level. Okay. Very low fatty acid level. Why it would stimulate your growth hormone secretion?
Kasi po, Doc, yung fatty acid po yung ginagamit ni growth hormone para sa metabolism ba yun?
Source of energy. Oo, tama yun. Kailangan yung maintindihan ito, kakabsat. Hindi ninyo siya ma-apply pag hindi nyo alam yung mga effect niya sa metabolism. Okay? Ayan o, hyperglycemia is opposite, diba? It would inhibit growth hormone. It's because yung growth hormone natin, no? Diba, ang gusto niya ay mataas ang glucose level. So, kung mataas na ang glucose level, hindi niya magproduce ng growth hormone. Okay? Ganun din yung obesity. Ibig sabihin, pag obese kasi, mataas na yung fatty acid sa katawan. Fatty acid level sa plasma. So, hindi na kailangan ng growth hormone. Okay? But what about glucagon. Why it would stimulate growth hormone secretion? Na pag meron ng glucagon, it will also stimulate growth hormone secretion. Anyone? Ano ang action ng glucagon again? Mr. Droso? What is the action of glucagon?
Pine-prevent niya yung pagbaba ng conduct ng glucose.
So, ibig sabihin, i-normalize yung blood glucose level. So, ibig sabihin, if glucagon is already in your blood, ibig sabihin na mababa na ang blood glucose level mo. Di ba? So, it would stimulate growth hormone also production kasi growth hormone will help in increasing also blood glucose. Okay? Nakuha niyo ba? O, kasama na dito yung GHRH and somatomedin. It would both stimulate growth hormone secretion pag yung ating mababa na yung ating somatomedin at meron kang releasing hormone, so it will stimulate growth hormone secretion. I think hindi niyo pa ma-appreciate yung hyper at hypothyroidism, no? We will connect this later on, no? Why hyperthyroidism would inhibit yung ating growth hormone, no? And also hypothyroidism. Pag nandun na tayo sa portion na yun. But this, no? Metabolic especially, dapat matatandaan nyo, no? Or maintindihan nyo why it would stimulate or inhibit growth hormone secretion based on the growth hormones effect on metabolism. Okay? And there are also drugs that could stimulate growth hormone secretion like dopamine. The catecholamines may actually cause secretion of your growth hormone and your alpha-adrenergic agonist. Okay, so wala pa tayo dito sa pharma siguro inyo, no? Adrenergic agonist. Okay? So those are the stimulators and inhibitors of growth hormone secretion. Maraming questions sa prelim ay here, no? Sa mga stimulators, inhibitors. Okay. Any questions? I think siguro masyadong madami. I still have disorders of pituitary. Gusto niyo ba? Ituloy na natin. Hypo, diabetes. Yun lang naman. You have questions? I think I would just give you the part on, I have a narrated PowerPoint for this to cover all of this. And then we will summarize all or recap on Tuesday. And siguro sa ano na kayo, kailan tayo mag-quiz? May quiz ba tayo ngayon? Wala pa tayong quiz ng ano, di ba, ng feedback at saka ng mechanism of action. And then the ito, hypothalamus. Ayaw niyo ng ano, magsagot pag quiz. Alright, I'll just give the quiz this afternoon sa Orange App as requested. O sige, ano lang, feedback, mechanism of action. Ano?
In-person quiz na lang po. Thank you.
Doc, please.
Ano?
Doc, in-person quizzes na lang po.
Ano?
Next week na. Dok, wag po online yung quiz. Mas mahirap.
O sige, pero kung sa Tuesday, mas madami na, lahat na lang natapos natin. Ha?
Ah,
Oo na, sige na. Sa Tuesday
Dok,
na.
part ko.
Hanggang ano lang, hanggang pituitary lang. Hindi ko isasama ang growth hormone.
On Tuesday, Dok.
Ah,
Thank you, Dok.
sige. Sige na nga. But I'll be sending you the narrated PowerPoint. Parang recap na lang tayo on Tuesday para dun sa disorders of pituitary. Ha?
Thank you po.
Sabihin ko hindi na kayo nakikinig. Okay? Okay, sige. I'll see you on Tuesday. Guys. Keep on practicing ba? Baka tapos na by next week yung yung tiles natin. So make sure na kasi kung tapos na yung tiles, pwede nang mag-set up next week. Set up pa lang. Kasi kailangan pa nilang ma-acclimatize ng 7 days. So 7 days muna sila doon. Araw-araw nyo silang papakainin, hahawakan. And yun, i-practice silang i-weigh, ganyan, para ma-acclimatize sila sa room. So, kunin na ninyo yung mga mice nyo by next week para ma-set up naman. Okay? Okay?